It's just about Jesus's way of being. I've often thought I'd love to grow into Christ-likeness in a way.
Right.
And it be just instinctively what's coming out of me.
Sure, right.
Not something I'm calculating.
Right.
And I think in the midst of that thought is the answer that I used to have is that you just calculate better, right?
Yeah.
Like I just left brain my way into thinking right and acting right.
Yeah, it's not a behavior, it's not a method. It's more than that, and it's deeper than that. And we can grow in it. This calm confidence that we're all aspiring toward, but we're inviting leaders to consider, how do I get there? And it's not about working harder, doubling down on technique or methods. We're talking about that God has us, and the leadership we're talking about is possible.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what season 1's been about. Guys, can you believe that we're at the end of season 1?
Jeez.
So we've done, this will be our 20th conversation. We've done 19 different conversations around the idea of growing our leadership presence, our way of being, supporting everything else that we do. So it's probably wonderfully appropriate to just pause and look back and talk about how it's gone and what we've learned, some of the key insights. And so, John, just if you would, kind of remind us of where we were previously.
Yeah.
Where have we been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We almost said that together. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3.
Where
have we
been?
Somehow worse than the first track.
It was better spontaneously by far. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know I'd have to work this hard on just reflecting.
Where have we been?
I just like the way you pursed your lips.
I was trying to get you to cue it up here.
So, John,
love it.
take us
Yes.
back and help us
Okay.
capture again.
I wasn't sure if I should say anything or just let it keep going.
Help the boys, John. Help the boys.
You need to start the whole
So
thing over.
enjoying it. Well, I think, we started out, you guys shared with us there is a way of being that we can become aware of and cultivate that can serve God's call in our life. And we started talking about, well, 1, how do we form it? 2, how do we begin to do ministry out of it? Because it's the most effective way to do ministry. And we started talking about that actually a big part of it is that maturing has to do with becoming more responsive to God's Spirit, and that cultivates that way of being. And then I think I had a breakdown in the middle of an episode. I don't know. That's a few conversations.
And we didn't know it
Yeah.
as it played out. Yeah, that was a real game changer for you.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Hey, I'm interrupting this conversation because I want to let you know that if you're enjoying this, there's more to discover. You can dive deeper into these ideas, connect with our team, and get resources to help you bring courageous conversations into your own space and onto your own team. Interested? Click the link in the first line of the description below to get started. Now let's get back to what's going on around the fire.
Fascinating how, as we set out to have these conversations together, God would invite us into the very thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
For us to learn and to deepen.
In real time.
In real time. Yeah.
So we're talking about, living with a calm confidence. A confidence in God that enables us to be self-defined and non-anxious, right? And as we're having those conversations, the cartoon bubble over your head is something like, "Oh no, oh no,
This applies to me. Oh my!
Yeah.
right?"
And you even talked about his conviction. Yeah. I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Yeah, I just, I remember we were talking about responding to the Spirit quickly, and I just realized that I had been ignoring the Spirit, holding out, just white knuckling to my own defiance, actually.
Not surrendering.
Yeah, my own non-surrender, out of fear, really, out of fear. And it was a heck of a moment for me I was sitting in that chair, not this one, but heck of a moment. Yeah. So yeah, we got to hear a little bit about your guys' backstory.
Origin story, we call it.
The origin stories of
Of DZ.
the two wise odd couple. The wise odd couple that instructs us.
The WAD couple.
Odd couple, as we affectionately refer to them from now on. And yeah, we then started talking about leadership and self-deception. And
Big
what is
idea.
the box?
Yeah.
How do I end up in it? How do I get out of it? How do I play? How does leadership and self-deception and the box play in a church context? How do I live out of the box? And oh wait, can I be in the box with God? I mean,
Wow.
So let's talk about that for half a second, just to recap for people that may not have been with us back then. So, leadership and self-deception illustrates the idea that when I have an impulse or have the thought or have a suggestion that pops into my brain to do something kind or good or helpful or beneficial for someone else,
Yeah.
and I choose to not act on that, I'm immediately thrown into a condition where, to justify my selfish choice, I begin to do two things simultaneously. One is I inflate my own virtue. Well, I work harder than that person. Oh, I've already contributed plenty. I gave at the bank. I'm like this. I'm too important. I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I'm too exhausted. I'm too committed. I'm too this, that. And at the same time, we exaggerate the flaws, the defects, the neediness of the other person. They're always needing something, and if I give in now, who knows when it'll ever end. And so we do this to self-justify. And what we're calling self-justify, the authors of Leadership and Self-Deception actually call deception. We're deceiving ourselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we as humans, we can live in that condition that they call being in the box forever. We can spend the rest of our lives being in the box for somebody else, where I'm perpetually inflating my virtues artificially, and I'm also at the same time exaggerating your faults so that I can justify my selfishness and self-absorption.
Completely distorts my perspective.
yeah.
If you've ever been to a circus and walked in front of those mirrors that are
Yeah,
created,
yeah.
you're like, ooh, how could that be? And
Yeah.
so that condition allows us to live with a distorted perspective of reality or of the relationship.
Yeah, see, nowadays
And-
they have apps for that. There's an app that'll distort your.
And you're telling me that
Because nobody goes to circus anymore and stares at mirrors and look like this. Yeah, me and you did back in the day.
John just said, "What's a circus?"
Yeah.
Here you go.
I thought I whispered it quiet enough that people wouldn't hear, but
There's an app for that, bro. There's an app for distortion.
I guess I should say thank you for your feedback.
It's very out of the box
And
of you.
I wanted
Well
to say,
done.
you know you're in the box when you catch yourself, or others could be in the box, when you listen to them and you hear complaints and blaming and victimization.
Yeah.
And it's always so that they're wrong or bad or needy and I'm superior or right
Virtuous.
or virtuous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
it's just, and the powerful truth of that reality is it happens all the time with everybody in all organizations until we become aware of it and begin to honor what is really good. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated is a way to stay out of that scenario, that condition. So it's cool.
good.
I love it.
it's good.
Yeah,
I even
it's very
remember
powerful.
there was one big thing that God is boxless. He's never in the box towards us,
Yeah.
which is just amazing. He never
Yeah.
feels like that towards us, even though sometimes we may.
Yeah,
Feel
and
like that towards
this
him.
is kind of a human thing, but in my own defense, because I feel like I've just been beaten up on a little bit about the circus coming, I just invite everybody to Google circus, and then everybody will know what I'm talking about. Could we go on, please?
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Oh my
so,
gosh.
we talked about what our lovely Kirky refers to as the universal human paradigm. Humans are
Yeah.
resistance machines. We're doing it all the time, and in our own lives and in our work lives, in our churches and our organizations. We talked about that when we don't know the reason why something's happened, we make up a meaning and invest ourselves in it as if it's the truth,
That's right.
regardless of how true it is. And we're doing that, again, all the time, and especially even in our roles at church and in our organizations. And then we capped it off. The last 4 conversations have been about the formidable 4 covert operatives trying to subvert our way of being, and actually
go.
lead us into those way of beings: looking good, feeling good, being right, being in control.
Man.
I mean, sheesh,
Yeah.
it's so much ground. Even
Yeah.
as I'm thinking about what we covered, it feels like we can't have done all of that, but we did.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Well, let's
And if only I could do it perfectly.
there you go.
That's how I feel.
So let's go
that's my
around and
perfectionism.
talk.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I stepped on what you were saying.
That's my perfectionism.
Yeah, okay.
We were still on being in control over
Right.
here.
I'm
yeah.
still working on out that one.
Yeah. Let's go around and talk about some of the ideas, some of the stories, maybe any insights that were particularly meaningful or stand out to you. I'll just jump in and say, for me, when I recall whether or not my heart is at war against someone, and I usually know it. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to be aware that I hold something against someone in a very serious, unhealthy way.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of knowing or reading my own heart, am I at peace or am I at war, affects everything. And with my spouse, with my children, with my colleagues, neighbors, friends, church members. It's just a great, simple way for me to say, where is my heart? And how does that affect everything? So that's one of the big ideas that I think we talked about.
Well, that strikes me as I think back on the season is the idea that if God is sovereign, then I have exactly the life I'm supposed to have.
Gosh.
If God is sovereign,
That still messes with
there
me.
are
I know where you're
no
going.
mistakes.
Yeah.
There are no mistakes. If he's sovereign, if he's not who he declares himself to be in the Word of God, then we've all got some huge challenges ahead of us.
Yeah.
But if God is in fact who he reveals himself to be, then you guys, not only do I have the life I'm meant to have, with all the challenges and difficulties that each of the 4 of us are facing, but that's the life that needs me. And it needs me in it.
So
You are God's provision for your life and your context and your circumstances. So when you throw yourself in the middle of the muck and the mire and the chaos and the confusion, I want to suggest to you that you'll find Jesus there waiting for you.
Yeah.
And he might just be looking at his watch going, where have you been?
Yeah.
I love
Kirk,
that.
that's such a beautiful truth. It's a facet of the diamond, the gems, the gem of what we've been talking about. And it sets up everything about this life of increased contentment and this calm confidence that we're inviting, that we're all aspiring toward, but we're inviting leaders to consider. How do I get there? And it's not about working harder, doubling down on technique
Right.
or methods
Either.
being better, working harder,
Yeah.
praying longer, studying more.
More disciplined.
That's stuff above the surface, and we're talking about that's such a beautiful reminder that God has us, and the life we're talking, the leadership we're talking about is possible. So thank you for that. How about you guys?
So I think that it's interesting. It feels like when I'm reflecting on all of our conversations, there's something that has been a part of some of the conversations, and yet not like the focus of one of them, that is really, over the course of us working on this project and you guys having these conversations with us, really struck me. And it's just about Jesus's way of being.
Yeah.
I think that I have often reflected on in the past that there's just something about the way that Jesus rolled in life. Like, I mean, he was walking through the most high stakes, intense moments, and it just seemed like he was Muhammad Ali in the ring, like, you know, like untouchable, right? Like, it was just, you know, everyone's trying to entrap him, and it's just like he asked the right question at the right time, and it's just, I've often thought I'd love to grow into Christ-likeness in a way where I could be like, I could know how to do that,
Right.
and it be just instinctively what's coming out of me.
Sure, right.
Not something I'm calculating.
Right.
And I think, you know, in the midst of that thought is the answer that I used to have, is that you just calculate better, right?
Yeah.
Like I just left brain my way into thinking right and acting right, you know? And these conversations feel like sort of the foundation for me, the foundation and then some, of walking into, and we said this at the beginning, I think you guys said it's not just like Christ-likeness, it's about a Christ-like way of being that we were talking about. So we did kind of explicitly say it. It's just, I don't know, when I think about being in the box or out of the box, when I think about, am I resisting life and slowly moving towards the corner, or am I putting myself in the middle like Jesus did? Am I avoiding things that are hard because I just would rather feel good?
Yeah.
Because I don't actually believe that God feels the way he feels about me, so I could just feel good. All, you know, like, I'm all over the spectrum with all of these things, but it just feels like this amalgamation of the beginning fundamental understanding of how to walk like Jesus did. Like practically walk like Jesus did. And it's not about knowing the right answers. It's just not about that.
It's good.
I love it not being about having the right answers. I thought that's what great leadership was. Mastering all the right answers. Thinking about it like a vending machine. You remember what a vending machine is, right? A vending machine.
We have an app for that. Called Amazon. Think about it.
There you go. So you put in $1 or an amount of money,
Apple Pay,
and then you pull the lever, and you get the product. So Nick, what were you thinking?
Bro, I remember there was one time that you were reflecting to me about there's so many different ways we're looking at things. This same way of being from all these little angles, but there's a feeling that it all boils back down to the great commandment and the golden rule, right?
Well, the great commandment, and the second is like it.
And the second is like it.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about it. Just a Christ-like way of being is love, and so all of this just feels like, you know, you could almost boil it all down to love God, love people, and you know, we love God by trusting Him, obeying Him, receiving His grace, and in that, or an overflow of that, we can love people more and more and more. And so I think I love how all of these things that you guys have offered are just like different lenses of how to really get after that at the end of the day. It's loving God and loving people, because that's That's what Jesus said. It's most important, right?
Yeah.
So it's really helpful to have some of those handles. I think so much of what we talked about feel like really helpful handles
Yeah.
to help us know how to grab and love.
Yeah.
Really, really well. So yeah, thanks for that prompting. Yeah.
I think for me, it underscores the why it makes sense and the how. How does it happen? And it starts or originates in a source that's maybe part of the essence of who we are. So it's not just mechanical, it's not technical, it's not, it's not a behavior, it's not a method. So, but it's more than that, and it's deeper than that, and we can grow in it.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what season one's been about. So, hey, we talk about on our team a lot of times as a result of a training or a team gathering or some kind of processing, we do a thing called high-low Buffalo. And we go around and talk about a high being something that was really strong and positive for us. A low is something that just didn't go quite like we wanted it to, or a feeling that it could have gone better. Just some kind of you get the low and the high in contrast. But recently I was introduced to the...
What's the buffalo?
Well, I was going to say
I'm
that.
sorry.
So recently I was introduced to the idea of buffalo, and I went, what? And it just represents the surprise along the way during the training, during the teaching, during the facilitating, whatever, the meeting. And so I thought it would be kind of fun for us to go around. Now, let's include to this conversation, all 20 conversations. What is your high? Is there a low? And if so, what is it? And was there something surprising called the buffalo? And, it could be really fun as we do this to just say to the audience that this is a great way to engage people, to find out what they're thinking and feeling, how they experience what it is you just experienced as a team or as a group. And so, this is a really fun way to invite conversation.
Kind of a debrief.
And it serves as a kind of debrief. Good.
Love that.
Good.
And I'll say that when we do it as a team, it always feels like a safe space,
Oh yeah.
right? I mean, a low could be,
Right.
a disagreement,
Right.
but there's enough commitment to one another, affection, for one another, that it can be a low.
Yeah.
And stating that it's a low is not an offense.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I love that we could do that together in such a safe way.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
High respect, high regard.
Yeah.
Well, I can play first.
Well, I think you were the generator of the buffalo piece, weren't you?
I got it from someone else in our organization.
Okay. So start us off, man.
Well, maybe I should start with the buffalo. Now that,
Go for it.
We talked about it. I think that which is funny because I actually didn't have my buffalo in my head yet, but I think that if I search my memories, the buffalo is the way that God showed up in ways that we couldn't have prepared for. The buffalo was the surprise of how God was working behind the scenes in us, in me. The fact that, as we talked about earlier this conversation, like that was going on, and I'm not the only one who something like that happened to. There have been other conversations we've had where we realized God was setting us up the whole way. God was setting us up to be walking through this here at this time, to be who we are
Just in time
for these
learning.
conversations. Yeah. So that was the buffalo. I thought God was in this project the whole way. Never had a doubt about it. I thought we were going to have fun like we have, but I didn't think that there would be real world things that God was literally using in the moment to bring like that real just-in-time learning thing. That was my buffalo. I think that my low is somewhat related, but I think just at the beginning, maybe not during the conversations that anyone would have heard, but in the setup for the conversations, just everything that I was going through before I had my surrender this stuff to God moment, my way of being wasn't everything that I would hope my way of being would be, and that's honestly my low of everything that's gone on. And
What did you notice about it that could help the viewers to?
Yeah, I definitely was trying to be in control towards a certain outcome that I had predisposed in my head. You know, I mean, when you're administrating something, I think you can just administrate and you just put your bulldozer down and go forwards, and whatever you run through on the way, you're headed in that direction, you know? Mm-hmm. And then there's a way to administrate where, I don't know, I just think about those AI drones that I've seen that can like fly in formation through doorways and stuff, and it's just like they're navigating together and there's a direction, but it's not just ramming through everything. I don't know if that's the right way to frame it. I was definitely in control. I was definitely just making up meanings, not to do with anyone here, but just within my own life. And we could go down the list and think about what I was doing. I was avoiding responding to the Spirit. I wasn't responding as well as I would hope to character challenges. Just wasn't ideal. Yeah. And so the fruit of it was I was probably shorter with you guys than I should have been. And I was closed to the input in moments that, since those moments have gone on and we've been open to it, have made these conversations what they are. Mm-hmm. So I think that's my low. It just wasn't hot. And I think my high is just how enjoyable this process is. Like, this is definitely the most fun piece of media I've ever been a part of making. I've had the most fun doing this of anything, and I've had fun before, but this is it. This is the top for me. I think it's partially because it's you guys.
Probably the good food.
It's partially because the good food. It's partially because, great weather. I mean, there's so many reasons, and I notice myself flourishing as you guys are pouring into us during these conversations, and that's a part of it too. It's so fun. Yeah. So that's mine.
That's a great jump off point. I would love to share that my high has got to be watching you surrender to the Lord and the shift that took place.
Yeah.
And so thank you and good job. And I really enjoyed watching you respond to the Lord, which was, highlight big time. Hi. I don't know. The low might be the airplanes flying over.
Sheesh, I get that for sure.
As we're trying to
battling the noise distractions.
Yeah. I think we got a good editor.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, not a lot of lows. Probably, so my buffalo is, I'm going to hold it as a buffalo, not as a low. And I think a lot of our discussion over the last 19 conversations helps me hold what I'm about to share as a buffalo, not as a low.
Wow.
And I think as I shared along the way, I've gone through some things that I'm happy to talk about and be more vulnerable about, but I struggle with a neurological challenge, and in preparation for these things, being even in this moment, finding myself maybe even being more quiet than I would have normally been or thought I used to would have been, not knowing how to, interact with certain ideas, is I'm not always feeling that challenged in my regular day. I have challenges, but I'm not feeling that challenged all the time. So to be in such a concentrated experience listening and learning and absorbing and reacting for me was I was made very aware of the challenge that I have, and by God's grace, the things that we're talking about and interacting with, and the things that you guys are giving us really sets me up to see it differently, to hold it differently, to receive not just my gifting, but my limitations as grace
Wow, bro.
from the Lord, and just grief with it still, right? It's still difficult, and I'm like, man, that's a bummer. I can't, react or whatever. But there's definitely a sense of God's presence and permission to be where I am, and to not get up out of the chair and walk away, but to try, as you say, like throw yourself in the middle of the room, be in your life. That's been very helpful for me. So, yeah.
It's been so fun to watch you live into that. Like, I have the life I'm supposed to have right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all your encouragement.
Hit it, Big Daddy.
High low buffalo for me?
Sure.
Oh, wow. Well, the low is going to be double out on Nick's low, which is the airplane noise. I don't know how evident it's going to be by the time the editing is all done.
There'll be some here and there.
But it's in the evening, and we're right on the flight path of the Orange County Airport here in California, and planes are taking off, boom, 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 at different times during the 3 hours that we're trying to shoot, and so we're having to catch ourselves and forget right in the middle of something really funny, and then we have to scrap it and go again, and it definitely interrupts some of the flow that we've had. So I hope it doesn't seem choppy to you guys, a bunch of stopping and starting and all that, but that's why a lot of it's had to happen, is because of that. So that's my low. I think the high is just the gracious, I think the favor of the Father that we're experiencing as we're doing this. Nick, you had the idea, I think, that we would actually do this. But you got it because we sit in these 4 chairs in front of this fireplace on this patio at night, and talk and laugh and giggle and and share stuff and tell stories and all that. And so I'm just very thankful that even though it's been there, we have this stupid snow glow light source here over our heads that I hope you guys can't see.
And the hundreds of technicians around us.
Oh yeah, all of our hair and makeup people. Yeah.
Well, thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, off camera.
Yeah. The entertainers that come out and keep us energized
during
between shoots. Yeah.
Would you like some green M&Ms, Kirk?
Exactly, only green. But so I'm just grateful for the Father's favor. It's felt way more natural. I'd say after the first night, or the first episode, once we got through the first conversation, it got a lot more comfortable and relaxed. Yeah. And I hope that the viewers could sense that as well. So I'm grateful for that. And gosh, I don't know what the buffalo. I think my buffalo is just gonna be the supportive way that you 3 guys have been with me as we've been doing this. So I really, really appreciate that. Z, from you doing the whiteboard so that I actually can't forget what we're supposed to, what I'm supposed to remember and stuff like that, to the way you've worked with attack and done the setup and gotten the snow globe in the right spot and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm glad for that. That's my buffalo.
Snow globe.
I love that it's the snow globe.
Yeah, high, low, and buffalo. There was a conversation that we had off camera the other day that was surprising to me because I didn't think we would have that conversation.
Yeah.
But it's also my high. So unfortunately, that doesn't help our viewers at all.
Yeah.
But that's okay with me.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been about doing something out of character to be other than who we really are.
Yeah.
And for me, that was one of the most vulnerable and honest conversations we had. And I'm thankful for however God wants and did use it. It was a blessing to me to share some of my world with you guys. And so
Same.
I thank God for that.
Amen.
Yeah. What a blessing.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, I also think that the high, as it has already been shared, was equally my high. The relational ways in which we interacted for the sake of having courageous conversation. I think we hit our mark because I got the sense that it was genuine. At times it was vulnerable, and the honor that you guys give me and Kurt to think back on our stories of how God's met us at times. And God has taught us many of these distinctives through other people and processes, but the credit goes to God because our lives are better because God met us and people have helped us get to whatever degree where we are, and we want to reach out and back. And the wonderful thing is you guys are bringing this medium, this vehicle, to say, with the grace and help of the Spirit, could we multiply our learnings for the sake of other people's growth and leadership? And I just think that's beautiful. Makes me think of the people who invested in me when I was your age, and I'm grateful all over again.
Yeah.
Because none of us get where we need to get alone.
Yeah.
None of us.
And David, I don't know if this has been said, but we are so motivated. You guys know that John and I are so motivated
Yeah.
because we have had such just the privilege of being a part of the most healthy team
Yeah.
that we could imagine. I mean, nothing's perfect, of course, but and that's just due to your guys' legacy.
Yeah.
And we just want to honor that and bless
Yeah.
that and bless God and His work in your lives. And we have been such the beneficiaries of just incredible leadership and team culture that somehow we'd love for other people to have that.
Yeah.
We'd love to see that
Yeah.
multiplied.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this is an attempt at
Yeah.
offering it to more, and
Yeah.
there's other ways too. But
Well, thank you. Let me share a low that none of you have shared, but it lives in me. The low would be that this is our last conversation until next season.
It's real.
The party's over until next season, when we're going to talk about growing in our competencies. So we've been talking about the stuff under the surface that's foundational or core. We want to now put a lens on so that we can be more competent and confident in our leadership by the things that we know and do, right?
Yeah. Skills, techniques,
All of that.
postures, practices.
It's
So we're
gonna be wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been in our leadership presence, right? Sorry. So we'll try to do that very thing.
Wouldn't that be great? And so,
that's exciting.
to our viewers that look in on us, we hope that you'll join us for season number 2. Our plan is to do another 20 conversations. So maybe we could end by our way of ending has been to bless you guys.
Yeah. So why don't one
Way
of
to
you
go.
guys do it?
Yeah, would you guys?
Yeah, just want to bless you that the seeds that have been sown as you've been listening alongside Nick and I would be in good soil, and that they would be protected by the Father. They would be continually watered and nurtured, and that they would bear awesome fruit, that there would be a way of being that is cultivated in you with your partnership with the Lord that really does bless people in your ministry context, just as we've been experiencing that in ours. So In Jesus' name, we bless you with that. That's it for our time around the fire today and for season 1 of Courageous Conversations. I so enjoyed getting to run back through all that God has done over the course of this season. For me, these conversations have been transformational, and I hope that they have been for you as well. I would love it if you'd join us by sharing your high, low, and buffalo, just as we did in the video, down in the comments below. This video in particular, we're gonna be looking and responding to the comments. We always do, but especially on this one. As season 1's come to a close, I am so excited to jump off with you guys in season 2 next video, where we're gonna take what we've learned about leadership presence in all of season 1 and continue our leadership journey as we explore what Kirk and Z have found to be the most important leadership competencies for Christian leaders. I can't wait to start sharing these with you in episode 1. Please take a second and hit the like button on this video, because that helps us reach more people with this conversation. And if you want more courageous conversations, hit the subscribe button down below. If being a part of this conversation has been helpful, feel free to share this video with someone you know who might benefit from it. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you.